What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another stream. Bittersweet moment today because it's our last stream with UFC 4. This game, we're going to put this game behind us, all the toxicity, all the highs and the lows. We've been playing this game for years now. And I'm going to show you all my record, my how many fights I've won over the span of my career in UFC 4. I love this game, love EA Sports. So it's going to be bittersweet, but we have UFC 5 coming out today. Can't wait for that. I did pre order that and I've been waiting for the past month. I played the beta and, in my opinion, absolutely loved that game. So let me bring the UFC 4 stream on here. Let me make it a little bit bigger here. Well, there we go. So that was my created fighter. I love the white trunks. I like the white hair. Some of you guys may remember when I had my blondish hair, and I'm thinking of going back to the white hair. So be tuned for that, or stay tuned for that. Again, guys, Monday, new week, new goals. Drinking my shake. Anyways, new week, new goals. Just had an amazing gym session. I'm trying to up the workouts in the cardio aspect of it. Um, I really need to get back to boxing. I haven't done boxing in maybe 2 months now. We'll get back to it, coach, if you're watching, or if you end up watching this stream. I will be back, but just had to take a little bit of time off. Still working out though, just not as intense as I need to be. So without further ado, let's get right into this here. We're going to talk about, obviously, we're going to talk about the UFC 4 game. I'm going to run one match, maybe two matches, depending how it goes. And then I'm going to show you my stats on the UFC 4 game, and then we'll be talking a little bit about UFC 5. I want to save that to when we actually stream UFC 5. I really want to heavily stream on UFC 5, but if we get to it, we'll do that. We'll talk a little bit about my experience on the beta. Again, just overall, I love the game. So I know a lot of people don't like the game. Man, we're playing in the bantamweight women's division. Yeah, maybe we won't make this the last fight on UFC 4. Don't get me wrong, I love the women's divisions, but there's just not a lot that I like. Not my. If anything, I like the flyweight division on the women's. So they're going with Holly Holm. Let's go with there she is, Irene Aldana. Let's go with her. And I like the white on white. So hopefully we can get a dub here. Hopefully they accept boom roasted. Man, I love this game. I love UFC 4. If for anybody that plays this game and like plays ranked, so we haven't met. Jacket Packet is the username we're playing against. We haven't met before. Looks like it's a title fight though. But for anybody that plays this game, you know the toxicity behind the whole community and how much crap is talked. And like I don't listen to that. I mean, if you look at my messages, I just answer back with some pretty normal stuff. I never engage in the back and forth. Oh my goodness. So he's coming out heavy. Oh, throwing overhand rights, going to the body, mixing it up well. And you guys know what we like to do. We like to take the first round off a la Chita Vera style. Download the data. My goodness. Heavy gameplay. Or man, I need to stay away from these. Oh, all right. Let's stay away a little bit. Let's circle. Let's circle. Let's use the. Who was circling this week? Oh my goodness. There we go. Don't try to be too aggressive with me because, again, I download the data, and now all I gotta do is stay back and wait for my counter shots. There we go, boys. Yes. Oh, he quit. What was I talking to you guys about this game about being toxic and people being losers, sore losers? I should say. I'll stand behind this. I have never quit from a fight. Connection to your opponent has been lost, and I know a lot of sports games are like this, Madden, FIFA. But when you rage quit, like man, even Call of Duty, I know sometimes they don't want to give you the kill and they rage quit. But this is next level, man. This is next level petty. Like you can literally just go back and or request a rematch or something. But don't quit, man. Especially when you're being aggressive. You were the one being the aggressor in the fight. So let's run one more fight. Hopefully we get a women's flyweight fight. And man, unless we just ended with us being on top with a knockout win with a title on the line, no, I'm not going to be one of those. Just checking my dashboard. And awesome, we're on the flyweight fights. So let's see who they're going to go with. And we look at looks like we're fighting a really top level guy. He's been in the division 26. He's going with Manon Fiorot. Let's go with Caitlin Chikagian. I love playing with Caitlin Chikagian. Just her gas tank is not that great, in my opinion, or in the game at least. Um, that was a good knockout though, right? And we couldn't. I don't know if we get credit for it as a knock. We'll check right now on our history. But this guy, Kickmar, looks like he's very, very experienced. He's been in level Division 26, and anybody that plays this game, I don't even think I've ever been to Division 26, to be honest. So let's expect a very good fight here. Not like not like that last fight we just had. I feel like this is going to be a little bit more technical. So again, I'm a counter fighter. I like to download the data. Oh my goodness. By downloading data, I do not mean getting hit. Sometimes that's what it takes, though. You need to take those. Oh my goodness. 1-2 high kick. That hopefully is not utilized in the next game because that just breaks your guard. There we go. There's the 1-2 high kick again. We just need to get rid of that because if I get so annoyed when I get knocked out like that, and I've gotten knocked out with that same combo so many times. Most of my knockout losses, I would say that they're from that combo. Obviously, we learned to duck under it, but sometimes these guys have gotten really good about that. They'll go 1-2 low kick, and now her leg is messed up here. So let's just keep taking control of this fight. So obviously he wants me to drop my guard so he can go back to the 1-2 high kick. He's gonna keep spamming that. Looks like that's what he likes to do, and that's what's gotten him to that high division. There we go. I love to use my jab. I fight behind my jab in this game. A lot of people call it spamming, but I mean, that's what you got to do, man. Throw a cross. If you see me throwing a jab, throw a cross or slip. Simple. So here, I'm not sure we're winning this round, but again, we're just trying to download this person's data here. And it looks like he's just trying to make me drop my guard. That's what he wants. So if I show him I'm dropping my guard here. Oh my goodness. We need to play the long game and gas him out. You keep pushing me, I'm going to go to that body. And it looks like he's going to the body now. I mean, uppercut me, bro. That's the way you defend that. Nice overhand right by me there. Little change of setup. Instead of doing the 1-2, I love the 1-2 in this game, and nobody does it better than Conor McGregor, in my opinion, in this game at least. Body right there. It was wide open for me. Boom, boom. I'm gonna throw in a head kick here just to disrupt the rhythm. He was reading that, and he tried to go for the 1-2 high kick at the very end of the round. Very very interesting round, just like I mentioned before this fight. Technical, very interesting fight here, and hopefully we get out with a win because I want my last fight in UFC 4 to be a win, and we're about hours away from UFC 5 coming out, so that's gonna be awesome, awesome. I'm super excited. But again, bittersweet moment just because UFC 4. I mean, I believe I only have FIFA, Madden, and UFC on this sex. Oh no, I have Call of Duty. I just haven't played it in such a long time. And I had Fortnite for a while, but I just never. I mean, it wasn't my style, if you know what I mean. Oh, nice change of setup there. Something different. So again, I just love using my jab, especially with Caitlin Chikagian. It just helps you get so much done here. And we're still blocking those low kicks. I'm waiting for that 1-2 high kick. Strikes are significantly about even here. We forgot to check who won that first round. Again, you can't really trust these judges. It's so crazy how the judges are actually pretty accurate as they are in real life in this game. You can't. Oh, there's a high kick. You can't trust them, especially when it's such a close fight. And what I like about UFC 5, and we'll talk a little bit about that right after this fight, is that they have the cut factor, the damage factor, where they can stop the fight, or they'll at least stop and check on the fighter for the cut. And that just means keep. I mean, if it's a cut on the left eye, just keep ramming that left eye. Like it, and that's actually how fighting is. And or get a little bit more aggressive with it because a lot of fighters they'll just like to lay and pray. And thankfully, we're not getting any of that this stream here. My good, my front leg is damaged here. We need to start switching stances in a little bit. Oh my goodness. So let's just get back to our jab here. That's what works, and that's there it is. Just sets up so much when you learn how to and nice head movement. You see, that's how you counter a jab. Now he knows that I'm throwing the jab a lot. He's trying to, oh my goodness, my leg is chewed up, and now he's gonna go for the 1-2 high kick. Trust me on that. Or he's just gonna try to chew up my leg until I switch stance. Okay, now I'm switching stance. All right. We got to counter those legs kicks, hopefully with an overhand right or left in this occasion because we just switched our stance. The thing about Kaylin Chikagian, she'll fight good in both stances here, and we can show him better looks or different looks, I should say. And he's still going for those leg kicks. He's really trying to make me guard low, but I don't think that's working for him. Oh my goodness, such a close fight. Such a close fight. Okay, let's take a look at the fight stats here. So round one, he landed the more significant strikes about even. My average land strikes were way higher than he is. Mine are over 50% at this point. He might have taken the first round and second round. Oh my goodness, he might have taken the second round as well. I mean, I'm landing at the more accurate percentage here, but very close fight, and I can't let him chew up my leg anymore. We might need to stop this person. But again, I did mention at the beginning of this stream that this fight was going to be a lot more technical. We need to start countering those any kicks that they throw or that he throws. There we go. Any kick thrown, we need to throw at least one or two punches back and or kicks right there. Throws a kick that way. There it is. Oh, we need to throw we need to throw with him. There it is. There it is. Oh, that was supposed to be a head kick. That's what I don't like about this game sometimes. You click on a oh, nice elbow by me. Oh, fight is picking up here. Maybe I should stop commentating too much and focus on this fight. We might be losing. There it is again. Body, body again, body again. Now we're gonna turn the tables. How the turn tables, right? We're gonna try to do that one two high kick. What a fight! Boom! No, I'm not following you to the ground. Boom! Body kick again. Yes, high kick. Yes, let's put him away, and we put him away. Second knockout of the stream. Again, this possibly is my last fight in UFC 4. I'm going to end it on top. I'm just going to show you guys all my stats for UFC 4. We'll get right into a recap for UFC 294. But bittersweet moment here. UFC 5 game will be out, so that's going to cure a little bit of the sadness there. But love this game overall. Crazy amount of knockouts in my profile, and I'll show you my profile now. But really, really happy with this game, especially since it was made way back in, what was it, 2018, 19? I can't even remember. But Kaylin Chikagian is possibly my favorite fighter to play on this game. I'm not a big fan of her in real life, but in the game, that's what I love about it. She has great striking. Again, the cardio management sometimes, man, title defense here. So close to the 99 ranking. I know I've seen a lot of people in the 99 ranking, but I knew this fight was going to be a good fight. Let's check the judges scorecards up. Oh, I was actually up 2 rounds, 2018, and I really thought I was down 2 rounds. I mean, round 1, I'm guessing the leg held events, when I checked the kicks, I'm guessing that swayed to my favor. Round 2, she did land the more significant strikes. She did have my leg battered there. Again, I just goes to show how you can't really trust these judges. I mean, look at that. She almost landed 10 more significant strikes, had my leg battered, landed more total strikes. I was controlling the cage, but that doesn't matter anymore. Maybe it did matter back when they made this game on UFC 5. I know that doesn't matter anymore. And obviously, round 3, we just came and put the stamp on it. So the judges had me winning 2018. We would have gone to the judges' scorecards. I would have won this fight. But again, I really like to put a stamp on it. So, man, that sucks. It really sucks that it's going to be my last fight here. But again, UFC 5 coming out. We're going to do a bunch of streams on that. I really want to know or at least play with every single fighter in that. And I know in this game I tried to do that, but some fighters it's just impossible to play with. Because they do have some legends like Rampage Jackson, and he was one of my favorite ones to use, especially in the light heavyweight when there wasn't much options. Hopefully, in the new game, we have a wider roster. Super pumped to be playing with some of my favorite fighters that weren't in this game. So let's take a look at this. My fight history: last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 10 fights, we went 7-3. And what I want you guys to look at here is how many knockouts I got. Round 1 knockout. So I'm one of those get knockout or get knocked out sometimes. Honestly, I'm not gonna make any excuses. These I did play because earlier today, before I went to the gym, I did get some playing time in because again, it's my last day playing UFC 4. I don't think I'm gonna play it anymore. UFC 5 is just way too good to not play that. So these I just try to go in there. Not usually my game plan of download the data. Um, but these two right here that we just did on the stream, the guy that did not finish, you see the method DNF. I mean, come on, man, just finish the fight. If I knocked you out or you just request a rematch, let's. But again, it's a game, so a lot of people do rage quit, whatever. And kick my opponent, man, that was a good fight. Ended up knocking you out or TKOing you out in the round 3. Great fight. But let's get to our gamer card here. Let's see how we did overall in our span of our career. We have a lot of coins to spend. I don't really spend those many coins in the store. But let's look at our profile. This is very, very intriguing to me because this gives you all your fight. I've done 3,188 fights total. That's crazy. That is crazy. But this game has been out for such a long time, so come on. And you see here, favorite UFC fighter, Caitlin Chikagian. I love that they do that. Out of my 3,188 fights completed, I've won 1,781. So that's about, is that more than 50%? Let's do the math here. Just if I'm over 50%, I'll be happy. But again, I was fighting some tough competition. So, what are we at here? We're at 56% win rate. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I mean, rounds 1, 2,771. Knockouts, that's my forte in this fight. I love getting knockouts, 1,372. So I mean, let's do the math for this. I know this is kind of boring, but I'm actually intrigued to know. So 1,372. And then so I had about a 43% knockout rate. Decisions or submissions, 130. Man, I didn't really submit in this game. It was really the submission in this game, I don't really like it. It's like a mini game where you're like trying to overlap the other guy. So it's a little weird. It was a little weird to me, so I didn't really like going to the submission game. So again, it goes to show how much submission wins I had, 130. Sometimes it was more of if they gave it to me, I would get it. 4% submission rate win. That's like, man, I should have gone for more submissions. But again, it was I didn't like it. I didn't like the way to submit here. And UFC 5 game is going to be awesome. It's not a mini game anymore. You guys will see that. And an 8% a decision win. So, and the rest I obviously lost. So pretty cool stat there. 3,188 fights completed. I won 1,781. Really, man, 2,000 fights won, but no, I'm not going to do that. This game is over and done with. Love the game. Let's go to, I believe that's all right. So highest division score, 1,930. Gems won. That doesn't really matter. Highest division, 19. Never got to division 20. Man, if you get to 19, actually after division 15, you don't get to see your opponent's stamina bar. So that really makes it a little bit more competitive, in my opinion. So this is the career mode. I like the career mode, but it was a little weird to me. I love that in UFC 5 they're gonna have a online career mode, which is freaking awesome. I can't wait to look at that. But again, very, very cool game. UFC 4, EA Sports. I love EA Sports. Again, I play FIFA, I play Madden, not as much anymore. I full on play UFC. And now with UFC 5 coming out later today, we're going to be doing a lot of streams for that. But awesome game. We're going to go out on top with 2 wins as a champion with 1 defense. Season 27. I can't believe this game is over and done with. Maybe I'll have some nostalgia and play here and there, but I won't stream it. I'll be streaming strictly UFC 5 coming out today. I cannot wait. We're just about 3 hours away from it to drop. So we'll do a stream on that tomorrow for sure. So without further ado, again, great overall game. UFC 4, I loved it. Huge fan. playing on Xbox, so I just wish that they had done UFC 5 on crossplay because I do have a lot of friends and or followers that play on PlayStation, and fortunately we can't throw some hands, if you will. But overall, great game. Bittersweet moment because I really did like it. I really did like it, and it was just a game that I would like to get in here and play. And or it's awesome because when the UFC events come out, so like let's say this past weekend, I would play a lot with Islam when I was in division. I like to play with fighters that are going to fight that weekend. Unless it's getting a little bit competitive, then you gotta play with the fighter that you like to play with most. So overall, awesome game. I'm gonna. I've had every single UFC game, and obviously the next one is always the best one. So pumped for UFC 5. We're gonna check out for UFC 4. Won't delete it off my console, but it'll still be there. And a great last two fights on the stream. Thankfully, we didn't go down with a loss. So let's get past this bittersweet moment. Let's get to talking about the UFC 294 card. It was a very impressive card, in my opinion. Off to a slow start, but sometimes you can't have just finishes, you know. Sometimes that just doesn't happen in a UFC card, and that's just how it is, man. You fighting, every sport has its ups and downs, obviously, and I wouldn't even call it a down for UFC 294. I believe it did what it needed to do. Were questions answered? Possibly not. But let's get right into the recap here. And I have the fight card pulled up on Topology just so we can know what's going on. So let's take a look. UFC 4. We're going to remove it from the stream here. Awesome game again. And I'm blurring the background right now because, little sneak peek there. So I'm going to revamp all this shelf here. I really want to put some decorations in the background back here. Well, over here. I want to get some real cool signs just because I did move into a little different space here for these streams and or for whenever I record my YouTube videos, which in fact we'll get right into that. Subscribe to my YouTube at Zelo Studios Presents pretty much in every platform, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram at Zelo Studios Presents. My Twitter is a little bit different, which I do believe I have around here. I don't, but I'll write it down. I'm not really. I love Instagram. I love Twitter or X, in my opinion. Now, it's really cool, and you get to meet, I guess, so many different people from the community. But Instagram is where I like to. I feel like it's a little bit more personal. I know X or Twitter X, whatever. It's really hard calling it X, but we'll call it X because that's what it's called. You do meet a lot of random people that just come across your page and or you off a retweet you do get a lot of exposure on X. So I do really want to start getting more active on X, especially because they start putting your tweets out during the fights. I love that. Or I don't even know, do they call them tweets anymore? I'm not sure. Anyways, let's pull up the Tapology card again. We're removing the UFC 4 stream. Awesome game. Can't say that enough. So here we are in the Tapology results. UFC 294, in my opinion, overall, we had a lot of questions answered. These international cards, though, I do tend to not put too much stock into them because a lot of these fighters, I'm not sure if it's a change of if it's the change of schedule, if it's the traveling, even the weather. I mean, we've seen those factors come across like in the Utah cards, high elevation cards, and or whenever fighters have to get accustomed to the new time zone, international cards. And I believe we have another international card this weekend. But I mean, overall, out of 10, I'd probably give it around 7.5, maybe 8. A lot of people wouldn't agree, but I just think for the for what we could have got, I mean, that's pretty coming into the card. I thought it was going to be a 10. And I can't stress this enough. The judges, the refs, I mean, commissions, like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing? We need to be linear with these kinds of things. Um, but let's get right into the fights here. So Shara Magomedov and Bruno Silva went to a decision. A lot of people did not have this going to decision. Bruno Silva, great game plan, I guess you can say. He was getting pieced up, man. Pieced up. And those kicks by Shara Magomedov are just insane. So fast, have some power behind them without him having to wind up. They're just snappy kicks. And Bruno Silva is just tough, man. I know sometimes that's not a good thing to say or have being said that about you, but he's tough. I mean, Shara Magomedov hit him with everything from bottom when he was on bottom and on the feet. I believe he landed over 100 significant strikes. So Bruno Silva was never compromised in a sense to like where he was wobbled, but I was just waiting for him to, fall backwards and Shara Magomedov just land some crazy ground and pound. Shara Magomedov's questions were definitely answered as far as is he the truth? Can he hang with top notch competition? And even when taken down, I know Dana White alluded to him not, being or having good takedown defense or having good wrestling, but Shara Magomedov proved that he belongs, and he's definitely gonna be a top prospect in that division. So anybody that watched him fight and were hoping to see him get a knockout, maybe he didn't get it now, but it goes to show how level of competition really does matter. And in his mind, I'm sure he was coming in and thinking he was going to just keep rolling through competition. But once you get to the UFC, it's a little bit different. So he passed the test, obviously getting a win. Um, Everybody was saying this was a card to expose frauds. Again, I wouldn't put too much stock in this. We have to respect the fighters overall, man. I mean, a lot of these guys, you don't know what they're going through physically, mentally, again, personally. A lot of these guys are just trying to make it to the fight. A lot of these guys are just trying to make it to the fight. And sometimes, and again, I know your money's in play when you're betting on these guys, but if they lose and they lose your money, you had a strong read. I mean, we got to respect them overall, man. Don't be one of those people that get in there and, bash on them for not fighting to what you want them to fight at. I mean, you want to fight. If you want to control the fight outcome, you get in there and, control your outcome, but again, there's so many factors that come into these fights, personally, emotionally. I mean, we are going through it. Again, it's Monday, new week, new goals. And especially for these fighters, big respect to anybody and everybody on the card. But moving on to fight number 2 here, Victoria Dudakova. Speaking of personal problems, she had a big announcement in her post-fight presser and explain. I mean, again, I don't like to call it an excuse, but some of these guys, just like Dana said, sometimes if you already lied about it, a lot of guys do want to come out and use it as an excuse, but I don't think she meant it that way. I just think she meant it in the sense that, hey man, like sometimes she was a good prospect. I know a lot of people were expecting maybe a little bit more out of her, but again, she got the W. All in all, that's all that matters to these people because I mean they are having a show bonus or a show money and a win bonus. So she got the W. She had some problems she had to overcome. She had that weight miss. So with that 20% getting taken off of her, imagine she didn't win and 20% still taken off. So she went in there, got the dub. Jinju Frey, man, she's like the analysts were mentioning, she's very disciplined, but it could. I mean, she's just not UFC level, in my opinion. But she definitely hung in there with a hot prospect. So who am I to say that she doesn't belong there, right? And plus, the UFC needs more women fighters, in my opinion. So will she have another fight in the card? My opinion, she will. Maybe she'll get one last hurrah back in the states, but Victoria Dudakova, nevertheless, proved she had power. Uh, Overall, I would say she passed with flying colors because she pretty much dominated that fight. That second round was very odd. I don't know. I don't know if it was the whole. I don't even want to get into her personal problems, but I don't know if that had to if that had a factor in that fight because she ended that first round with a knockdown. So she might have taken the round off and come back strong. I don't know. I don't know. Again, sometimes we can't judge these fighters. Sometimes their game plan gets thrown out the window. So moving on to round number 3. And speaking of game plans and judges, refs, and commissions, or if you will, Mohamed Naimov, very impressive to say the least. Nathaniel Wood, I just I do believe he's giving up size in this division, man. I mean, I know the weight cuts are hard, but there are people that weight cut for a reason because Nathaniel Wood just I mean, he carries the power. We've seen him drop Feely. We saw him drop Naimov or quote unquote drop Naimov, hurt him in the very least. But Nathaniel Wood, I just think he is giving up size in this division, in the featherweight division. And Muhammad Naimov kind of exposed that. He just grappled when he needed to grapple, did enough to win the round. I can't remember the scorecards. I want to say it was 29-28. Another factor was those low blows. And that ref, he had me pulling my hair a little bit. I don't know if it was enough to take a point away because again, if he would have gotten a point taken away, I do think at least 50% of the population would have been saying that he didn't deserve. Like sometimes when things happen, you cry about it to say it nicely, and then when it does happen, you cry about it. So it's like people are gonna cry about it either way. In my opinion, I don't know if it was enough to warrant the point deduction, but Mohamed Naimov did have some fence grabs, did hit him again. So very, very controversial, and it's very hard to judge from the TV screen. Obviously, very, very hard to judge. I mean, the I do like to give the refs the benefit of the doubt since they're in there, couple feet away, sometimes inches away. If your name's Mark Goddard or what's his face, Mark Smith, I mean, those guys are really like they zoom in. You know what I mean? Um, but overall, Muhammad Naimov, great win. I mean, over a big name, in my opinion. Nathaniel Wood has a name in this roster, but at this weight class, I don't know. I don't see him doing that great in the weight class. At 135, he was a killer. He was a prospect. He was somebody to watch. But in this weight class, we do have, I believe, we do have better prospects, better fighters that can take advantage of that size differential. So Naimov, great win. Nathaniel Wood, again, it's just, and I had him winning, and obviously he was a huge favorite coming into this fight, but very, very weird fight to say the least. And speaking of weird fights, we move on to Mike Breeden, the dog. That's what he should name. That's what he should change his name to, honestly. The dog, but DAWG, if you know what I'm saying. Because he was just, man. So it had me. I had no action. I had no bets. I had nothing. Like I just wanted to watch this fight as a fan because Anshu Jubilee had a lot of hype. They were promoting him from India. They need Indian fighters. That market is huge. And like Dana White said, They want every market is important, but if you get Indian fighters to starting to come into the UFC and all those eyeballs on the UFC, I'm sure they get some viewership from there. But now getting behind their own fighter, the promoter had was saying, man, hopefully Jubilee comes out and knocks him out. And I believe he was winning the fight up to that round. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 1-1. I would have to rewatch it. But Mike the Dog Breeden just had me a little concerned in that walkout when the commentators were talking about a cut over his eye, which was extremely nasty. He had a piece of skin, just dangling after the fight or during the fight, actually. And he just, I don't know, man. If there was anybody really needed to be nicknamed the dog, it has to be Mike Breeden, in my opinion. I mean, his back against the wall, coming off 3 losses, fighting a hot prospect that or maybe you don't know, but the population or the fans know that Jubilee needs to be at least win a fight, kind of like the McGregor thing back where he was just like, if this guy can throw a punch, I mean, they'll have some fans behind him. But Mike Breeden just came and shut it down in enemy territory per se. Just came in and dog walked to Jubilee in the 3rd round. I don't know what else to say. I mean, he really did. And Jubilee just stared at him as if he's some kind of monster, or like as if he saw a white ghost, and he just froze like Elsa, if you know what I'm saying. Mike Breeden, man, he just showed to the public that he's a dog, and he was going to come in and fight as a dog, literally as an underdog. And again, if anybody has to be that nickname, it has to be Mike Breeden, especially if he comes out match. You know what, UFC, he did you guys a solid fighting some top dogs, literally. Um, Caused them to go 0-3. Not caused them, because I mean he controls his own destiny, but against Anshu Jubilee, now some fans behind him, cashed a lot of people's underdog tickets. So bring him back to the States, give him a favorable matchup, and let his stardom rise, man. He deserves it. He deserves it. And Anshu Jubilee, he showed he got some skills. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen a fighter just freeze up like that and literally just get dog walked and then give up the knockout. It was insane. It was crazy. And that was in the prelims. And again, the prelims weren't that great. Previous to that, we had 3 straight decisions. So I don't have any problem with decisions. I love decisions because you get to watch or you get to see more of the fighters that are involved. But this was awesome. This was awesome to see. That 3rd round, first and second round were kind of, but then if you want to rewatch it, just watch the 3rd round, because it was like as if it was a completely different fight. It was insane. It was as if I want to know the CompuBox numbers for Jubilee in the 3rd round specifically, because that was crazy. Anyways, moving on to the next fight, number 5, Azaitar and Dumas. Great showing from Dumas, in my opinion. I know a lot of people were not excited on the outcome, but Dumas, again, these fighters they got to do what they got to do. And he came out of there with a win against a dangerous Azaitar that was, hair grabbing, doing everything. I mean, when you're in there, say what you will, but these guys are fighters, man. They're gonna try to, get every and any edge they can. So I don't blame Azaitar. Am I a fan of it? No, but I don't blame him. Like, you're in there for a fight, you're trying to get in there and take every advantage you can get, because this guy's trying to kill you. You're trying to not get killed. So Cedricus Dumas' UFC career so far has been impressive, in my opinion. Obviously, he has a lot to get to the top of the division, a lot of work to do, but these wins count, man. This experience counts, and he's very, very exciting. I am excited to see him again. Again, it could be this whole traveling, this whole jet lag, if you will. that may have played a factor in here. But as Itar too, man, he's you can tell he has power for the 185 division here. So again, Dumas did what he had to do. Decision. A lot of people. I mean, the lines were so juiced that this not going. I believe it was 1.5 rounds, and then obviously not going the distance was like minus 400 or 500. And I don't even like to look at that those lines. I mean, those lines are just too juiced. You can't even. I mean, we're gonna put them in a parlay, I guess, but parlays never really hit, in my opinion. That's how casinos live off of, in my opinion, or that's what casinos live off of. But I mean, again, if that's your thing, you like to parlay, just I like to throw one or two parlays just to donate to the casino there. But that fight at minus 400 to not go the distance was insane. I know they're 185ers, but again, we've seen Dumas go to decision before, and this newfound grappling that he has done could have extended the fight and did extend the fight. So great showing overall for Dumas. Azaitar still a player in the division, still can win some fights, but great showing by Dumas. Congrats for him to getting the W there. And we move on to fight number 6. Man, this fight was so weird. And I mean, this fight was all over social media within minutes, literally within minutes. Javid Basharat, huge prospect, hot prospects, undefeated. And Victor Henry, La Mangosta at 135. It was going to be a good fight, in my opinion. It started off pretty good. And this is one of those that was very juiced to go over 2.5 and to go the distance. And in my opinion, I didn't have action in this fight again, but I was so tempted to take the no distance. Just because I know Basharat's brother came out with an impressive win in his last outing. So I believed, or I thought that that's what would happen with Javid here. And ended up being a no contest. It was very frustrating to say the least when I know we all heard it where the doctor comes in and it's like, he didn't hit you down there. And Victor Henry was like, dude, like literally gives him a stare like shut the, he's like, you're not the one, like let me kick you down there. And again, whether it was a kick or not, we got to give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. Again, these guys are not actors. These guys are not, I mean, these guys are fighters, man. Like I don't understand when people judge him into the fact that, man, he's faking it. I mean, again, if you want no fakes to be part of the game, you get in there. Don't fake it when they hit you in the cup. It's just we got to give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. That's all I'm saying. Whether it was a low blow or not, we just got to give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. I understand there's money in play for you, but it is what it is, man. A la Max Holloway. It is what it is. But Victor Henry, nevertheless, hopefully they run it back. Ended up in a no contest. A lot of people did want it to end as a TKO or KO or disqualification or whatever you may have thought about that. But no contest, in my opinion, is good. It's a good overall outcome. Hopefully they run it back. Looked like it was going to be an interesting fight, fast paced, and Javid Basharat is definitely a prospect. Victor Henry getting up there in age, but he can still scrap, and hopefully he's okay. I know there's reports of Josh Barnett saying that his balls were like a size of, I can't remember the word, but like that apparently they were like super swollen and he was vomiting, and hopefully he's okay, man. Hopefully he could come back sooner rather than later. And Javid Basharat, just not the outcome he was looking for, obviously, but they'll be back. They'll both be back. Again, give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. If he was hurting and he couldn't continue, he would have either gotten finished within that round and or in the second round, and then not even thinking about what if another accidental low blow happened. I mean, you're looking at way more damage now. So in my opinion, if he couldn't fight, if he said he couldn't fight, he said he couldn't continue, the doctor telling him that it wasn't low blow without doing a good analysis, without, I guess, looking at the injury, or, I mean, you can't really tell a fighter that, right? So, again, it was a little frustrating to say the least, but moving on to another fight where Talking about dogs with Mike Breeden, Trevor Peak, very, very interesting fighter. And a lot of people had this fight not going the distance. Trevor Peak by KO. I was seeing that all over social media. But Muhammad Yahya showed he was, he's a player, he's got some skills, obviously. Um, Game plan wasn't the best in my opinion, but Trevor Peak is gonna make you throw your game plan out the window. Um, it's just his awkwardness, his bad blood in every shot he takes. Um, really, really fun fighter in my opinion. Trevor Peak, fighter's fighter. Is what those junkyard dogs that people like to call some fighters or their fighting style. Trevor Peak well deserved to win. I'm pretty sure he wanted the knockout. I know he wanted the knockout, but sometimes, I mean, again, it's just the UFC. Sometimes you just can't roll or steamroll through guys as you have been, say, in the contender series, amateur levels, regional scene. Sometimes once you get here, even if your opponent is not as great as you or has the skill set as you, we can tell that game plans are a huge factor. Coaching, corners, great camps. And I know there's no such thing as a great camp. I know a lot of fighters say that in all their interviews, but there's always something, And we talked about Victoria Dudakova. We'll talk about Alexander Volkanovski. But there's always something with these guys. So we got to give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. Again, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know if they have injuries, lingering cuts that they're trying to hide from the commission. These guys are just trying to make it to the fight. They're trying to get their paycheck. They're trying to get some money. So give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. That's all I ask. That's all I do. But moving on, fight number 8, submission arm triangle choke by Muhammad Mokaev. Very, very impressive over Tim Elliott. That had a lot of buzz coming into this weekend because of the whole, what's his name? The fighter that fought in BKFC. I can't remember off the top of my head. Kevin Croom. There it is. Man, what's going on with me today? I need to eat. Anyways, so Tim Elliott was very well possibly winning. I do believe they released the scorecards, and I think he was winning the first and second round or one of the 2 rounds. Because I mean, he had a decent out. Tim Elliott's still a good fighter, man. Mokaev is no joke. Mokaev knew what he was doing. I mean, I'm more than sure he had a game plan. But Tim Elliott is definitely still a player in the 125 division. But Mokaev is just the real deal. He's the real deal. Put him up there give him a top 5 fight. Give him a top 5 fight. Let's just, if he's going to be the real deal, give him a top 5 fight early next year, or in the Saudi Arabia card next year, and we'll see what he goes from there, man. I mean, I do believe he's gonna get a title fight with it, whether it's next year or in the coming future. I do believe he gets there. That 125 division is very, very interesting. So, huge props to Tim Elliott. That's a tough fight to take. And when you were possibly winning, again, he'll be back in the drawing board. I do believe we'll see him back, getting up there in age, but in these lower weight classes. Depends on how he's managing the weight cuts, how he's managing camps, how he's feeling. Usually that's when fighters like to make their decisions. So moving on to I believe this was the main card here, Said Nurmagomedov and Muin Gafurov. Expected a little bit more from Muin Gafurov, but thank goodness we had Said Nurmagomedov inside the distance. I didn't know if he was going to TKO him. I didn't know if he was going to submit him. Ended up submitting him. That submission probably was so there for the taking, but again, we can't beat ourselves up. We did have him on the inside the distance. We didn't want a decision here, especially all these other fights going to decision. I was a little worried there, but he showed out. The reason why we took him inside the distance was because exactly that. I do believe he was coming off a rather controversial decision loss. So he wanted to come out here and just prove to the world, to the masses, that he's still him, man. I mean, he's still Nurmagomedov, regardless whether he's related to Khabib or not. But and in a home court advantage, if you will. He wanted to come out and show out to the people. So very, very interesting for Saeed. Very, very impressive win. Moin Gafarov was very disappointed in himself. Again, whether you were on the Saeed side or the Moin Gafarov side or the over or under, whatever you were, I mean, props to these fighters, man. Huge, huge respect to both of them. Moin Gafarov taking this fight as a decent underdog. I mean, props to both of these guys. It takes two to tango, and Said Nurmagomedov got out of there unscathed. So hopefully we see him back soon in that 135 division. It's just amazing, amazing. Possibly the best overall talent in my opinion. 155 is up there, but outside of the top 15 on 155, I don't think it's the same as the bantamweight. But personal opinion. And speaking of a hot division, 185, 185 pounds middleweight division is starting to get some steam here, man, especially since Izzy lost. It's up for grabs, the top 10, top 15. Aliskerov round one knockout, flying knee, and then TKO's Warley Alves, a late notice replacement. Huge respect to Warley Alves coming up a division. He looked big though. He really did look big. He looked filled up for that class. I do believe he should stay there. But don't take a last minute fight again. These fighters, we got to respect them. Sometimes they're trying to show up for a paycheck. They got to take whatever fights they can get. But Ikram Aliskerov, just like Volkanovski said, there's just some fighters that you don't take on late notice replacement. And against Ikram Aliskerov, he just proved he's the real deal. Again, against a late notice replacement, that's what he had to go in there and do. He needed to go in there, show that he belongs in the top of the division. I know he was matched up against Costa, so I don't know if we throw him against Costa, give him a give him a top five, maybe give him a tough matchup like as in the wrestling department, because he's been coming out and just banging and ending fights in the first round. So let's get him tested here. No need to throw him to the dogs so early in the career. I believe it's his second UFC fight. No need to do that. Same thing with Shara Magomedov. Give him something tougher, but don't throw him to the top dogs. At least not just yet. Let's save that for the future. For the future events. Let's build them up here. But again, Ikram Aliskerov, very impressive, real deal guy. And Warley Alves, huge respect to him. It's just there's just some fighters you can't take late notice replacements for. All right, sorry about that, guys. So moving on to a fight that was very, very intriguing, very, what can I say? There was people in between this fight. Magomed Ankalaev was really, really juiced up there as far as money line goes. Johnny Walker was a popular underdog, and he was still plus 2 something, or possibly plus 300 by fight time. But another one of those that that the same doctor. I know DCU is going crazy on the broadcast, like that's the same doctor that was telling Victor Henry, blah blah blah. So we got to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. I know it was very frustrating to see that the doctor wasn't giving Johnny Walker time to recuperate. If they have 5 minutes, why not give them 5 minutes and then bring the doctor in? And then by that time, if you don't give a concrete answer, if you're not get to fight, then yeah, call it. But it was within, I believe it was like a minute and possibly a language barrier. Johnny Walker looked fine to me. But if he doesn't go out there and say like, no, I can't continue, then why not just give him some time? Why not give him the full time? Why not give him the opportunity to stay in the fight? Obviously at that point you got to take a point from Ankalaev, because that obviously does hurt Johnny Walker or rattle him in the least. And he was, I mean, you take it, people are saying that it wasn't that hard or wasn't intentional. You take a knee from a huge tool, possibly he's weighing about 220 some, 230 some by fight time. Even a small knee, even a small energy knee, like just you try taking a knee from that guy and let me know how you feel. Let me know if it doesn't bother you at all. So again, you got to give these fighters the benefit of the doubt. He definitely was hurt, whether it was intentional, whether it was accidental. I know what you guys are saying. Maybe the no contest, you want to make that a disqualification. You want to make that a early stoppage, whatever, because we're betting money on these fights. We have something on the line, but the no contest, in my opinion, was correct. Again, it's just it sucks for betting purposes. Um, it's just the way we got to the no contest. That's what irks me because that the not the fighters, the judges and the refs do have control over. I know the refs are listening to the crowd booing and they might they're not used to that, right? They're just out there to ref. They're not used to the crowd swaying their decisions or not swaying their decisions, especially with unexperienced refs or unexperienced doctors in this case. The doctors going in there, crowd is booing. I can only imagine how loud those boos were. And the fighter, Johnny Walker's trying to get his wits back about him. You can see him pacing. He was just trying to like wipe his head, wipe the sweat off of his eyes. And the doctor apparently, I don't know, because again, we just hear what we hear from the media and from people. Apparently, the doctor asked him if he knows what country He's in. Again, not confirmed, but it's just what we're hearing. And Johnny Walker says the desert or says something that's not to the doctor's standards, and the doctor waves it off. And Johnny Walker, I don't know if he didn't know what was going on, but he saw the doctor leaving, and so he pretty much thought like, okay, we're back to fighting. So he started, squaring up again, and people thought he was messing around, and he very well could have, but the ref was waving it off. Crowd is going insane. Ankalaev is obviously so pissed because coming off a draw to the title fight, like he wants to get in there and fight, man. And they had, Johnny Walker was poking at him in the media day saying that Magomed Ankalaev is a boring fighter, that he needs some style. And Johnny Walker, I believe he posted a reel on his Instagram saying illegal knee, Magomed is kneeing him, and then this is like a legal knee, a accepted knee, and it's Johnny Walker when he did the fake and then up the high flying knee. So the no contest is right in my opinion. Let's get out of there. Just how Dana White said, we'll figure it out. Let's rebook it, and because there's a lot of stake here. There's a lot at stake here. I mean, again, Magomed Ankalaev, whether it was an illegal knee or not, in my opinion, it was more of a fight. I mean, again, I'm not in there, but it's just watching the replay. I don't obviously he's gonna if he knows that the fighter's down, he's not gonna say, "Hey, let me get disqualified here. Let me throw a knee to the face." But again, sometimes you just trying to go to the body. The fighter's moving. Sometimes you do have control over your weapons. But in my opinion, this was the correct decision here, especially since Johnny Walker looked like he was okay. It would be a different aspect if Magomed Ankalaev need him and Johnny Walker's just completely laid out on the ground, hands out, you know, headache or something, kind of like the way Victor Henry was with the low blow there. But Johnny Walker seemed fine. He was up, he was moving, he had that little spring in his step. It was just more of a misunderstanding, in my opinion. Again, I got to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, but the no contest was right in my opinion. Unless Johnny Walker was in there, holding his head on the ground, couldn't get up, or wobbling or stumbling. But unfortunate ending to that fight. Magomed Ankalaev, uh, moderate favorite, or I believe he was a heavy favorite by the time they fought. But rebook it. No contest is right in my opinion. Judging by the fight outcome. So let's move on to the co-main event, UFC 294, one that we were really, really hoping for to deliver as far as a finish, and thankfully, I went with one of my buddies' advice. He said bet the over 2.5. He's like, even bet this goes to decision. He's like, I don't know who's gonna win. And we were going back and forth about this fight because he had Usman, and he's very well knowledgeable. And he had Usman winning outright, and I was like, man, like I just don't see it. Like maybe, and I started second guessing myself. Is Hamza going to come out here look like he did against Gilbert Burns? But then that first round came and he just bulldozed Usman, controlled him for the majority of the round, almost the full round. 10-8 was, you know how we feel about 10-8. Sometimes it's just they're just thrown out here and there. I don't know about the 10-8. Am I gonna disagree with it? I guess I can see it, but in my opinion, 10-9, Chimaev. Second round comes around. Whether Chimaev's hand was broken or not, they were standing and trading. He said he couldn't wrestle, so that's why he didn't really shoot in the second round. Probably was taking the round off, but again, only they know what's going on. Again, I do believe he was going in there with a heavy heart, as he just poured his heart out in the post-fight interview. But second round, Usman 10-9. So at that point, we're looking at a uh, close decision, if you will, there. But my thing was, I just wanted my over 2.5 because it was at plus money, and I just really wanted it to cash. And a little sprinkle on the decision goes to decision. So thankfully, we didn't have anybody inside the distance. I know Chimaev inside the distance was plus money, and then it got juiced up to like minus 200, which was insane. Uh, Usman never been finished, other than that knockout, or prior to that had been a while for him to have been finished. That Leon Edwards did a head kick KO. But coming up a weight class, late notice replacement. I know a lot of people were on Chimaev inside the distance, but thankfully, we just ended up going 2.5. Got that. Super, super happy, and super happy for both of these fighters because, in my opinion, nobody loses. I know a lot of people are off the bandwagon of Chimaev now, saying they're going to fade him next fight. But again, it's just we don't know what's going in. I mean, we see Usman taking a late notice fight, but it's a late notice fight for Chimaev as well. So we got to look at both ends, and then we don't know what's going on there in their head. We don't know how they're coming into the fight. These guys have a lot to deal with personally, have a lot to deal with emotionally, physically, and then let alone what happens in the fight. So Usman, veteran of the game, he didn't get rattled by that first round. Anybody would have got broken down and said, "Man, this guy's just too much. Let me get out of here. Let me get my show money and get out of here." But man, he's definitely still got some gas left in that tank. But Chimaev, again, I don't put too much stock as in he was exposed, but because maybe he's the one that was feeling the pressure, right? He had to come out here and show that he was going to finish Usman. But it's not like Alex Garoff where he got a late notice replacement, but it was such a not even a ranked fighter, so he did what he had to do. But Chimaev gets a late notice replacement, former welterweight champion, huge body, great wrestling, power in his hands. So I do believe Usman should stay at the 185, especially at this later portion of his career. Don't cut the weight anymore. You clearly have can hang with the 185ers, and you might even have a path to victory to get to the title. So why not, right? Like now you have the UFC on your side for taking this fight. You looked great. So why kill yourself going back to the welterweight division? Let that move on. You proved what you needed to prove there. You're getting to a later portion of your career. Let's go up in weight class. Keep proving to the people you still belong with the top of the fighters. Um, but Chimaev, again, he coming into the fight, he seemed rattled by what's going on around the world. We're not going to get into that, but Chimaev had some emotional post-fight interview, and you can tell he is just going into the fight. He probably had a lot of it in his head, and then you go in there, have a great first round, but you break your hand, and now you're just, try to put yourself in that position. You're going in there with a lot of stress in your head, a lot of to think about, and then you go in there, you have a great first round, but you broke your hand. So now you're thinking, man, like this can only get worse. Like this is not going to get any better now. So I don't put much stock into the fight overall because again, if he would have came in here and finished Usman, then we're on the Chimaev train, and maybe he gets exposed next fight if that's what you're trying to call it. But again, these fighters are going to go in there, do what they got to do to get the W. And Chimaev, since he came from a humble background. He clearly cares about his money, especially with this kid now. Clearly cares about his money, his future, his career. Wants to provide. Wants to have. I'm pretty sure he wants to give his kid everything that he didn't have growing up. So, um, great fight in my opinion for both fighters. Huge respect to Chimaev and Usman. Paulo Costa was in the crowd getting into fights with his injured elbow, but hopefully they get to rebook that fight. Very interesting for Chimaev, let alone for Costa. But then you have Alice Skurov. Maybe he gets in the mix. Magomedov, maybe he gets in the mix. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But nevertheless, let's move on to the main event. Main event: Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. Huge rematch. Not the way that we wanted to see it go down, as a late notice replacement. But nevertheless, the UFC is going to UFC their business. They still gotta sell tickets. They still gotta sell pay per views. They still gotta do what they gotta do to keep the fans entertained. Because if we would have lost the co-main and the main event, oh my goodness, what are you going to put Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker as the main event, and then ending in a no contest? Jesus. But thankfully, we got all that figured out, and we're moving on to a good um, main event here that we all know what happened. Alexander Volkanovski unfortunately gets knocked out. In my YouTube video, I did get a little bit of heat for this because I mentioned that I wanted Alexander Volkanovski to lose because he completely destroyed one of my favorite fighters in Yair Rodriguez, and it was more in the sense that I like to watch all these guys and a huge respect to all these guys, but sometimes it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when Yair Rodriguez in Vegas, International Fight Week, we were there, but it was just hard. It was just hard to see. And it's just like it's now. It's hard to see Volkanovski get knocked out by Islam, right? It's just when the fighter that you're very emotionally attached to or like have some sort of rapport with goes out there and gets knocked out or gets dominated. I mean, I'd rather have Yair gone in there and get knocked out in the first round like he did, or like Alexander Volkanovski did, rather than pretty much get beaten on the feet, on the ground. Pretty much broke down a fighter. So no ill will. Again, I respect all and everyone, all fighters, but before the fight, I just mentioned that I just was on the Islam train. I just knew it was going to be too much as a late notice replacement. Like Volkanovski said, there's some fighters that you don't take late notice fights against. So Islam went in there, looked huge, and Volkanovski looked way smaller. And obviously the power was there, and ended up knocking him out. And class for Islam because he obviously respects Volkanovski, made him better. All that experience made him better. But now let's get Islam back in the top of the 155, right? Let's stop fighting Volkanovski. Let's put that behind us. Unfortunate way to finish that rivalry, if you will. But let's move forward. Let's give Gaethje. We have Gaethje waiting in there. We have some other top contenders. I know Mateusz Gamrot was in there as a backup fighter. Maybe get Mateusz Gamrot some top 3, top 4 fighter as a title contender fight. In my opinion, give Gaethje his not a rematch. Give Gaethje his shot at the title again, and maybe I believe Gaethje will be a little bit more competitive because a lot of people are saying, well, Gaethje, got swallowed by Khabib, but on the feet, especially if Islam starts to believe in his stand-up a little bit more since he's coming off a KO, on the feet, it's gonna be, we saw Gaethje land some nasty leg kicks against Khabib. Maybe he can do that to Islam's legs and take away his power to wrestle. I don't know. It's just a very intriguing matchup. Let's book Islam and Gaethje. In my opinion, Gaethje deserves it. You don't go out there and knock out Poirier and not at least get a title shot or at least be considered for a title shot, especially in the 155 division. There's no clear-cut contender other than Gaethje, in my opinion. Gamrot coming off a injury win. So, again, very impressive UFC 294. And we are right at over the 1 hour mark here for the stream. So we're gonna end it there. Overall, awesome stream. We got to play some UFC 4. Now we're about 2 hours away from the UFC 5 drop. So we're gonna be doing a lot of streams for that. I can't wait to play that game. I'm gonna go out there, get something to eat, and we're gonna get right back into uh, the UFC 5 game. So without further ado, guys, that was a very. Let me bring myself back on the screen here. Oh, man, my hair's super messed up. Again, just came back from the gym, drank a shake, so we're good. Um, so again, subscribe to my YouTube, guys. Instagram at Silo Studios Presents. We're going to be working on some graphics to upload to the Instagram there. So stay tuned for that. Give me a like on there. Give me a follow on Instagram, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter. You'll find me everywhere. If you guys want to just chop it up about these fights, stay tuned for a YouTube video to be uploaded around Wednesday, Thursdays, where I like to, because you never know when cancellations. Another international card, I believe it's in Brazil. Huge, literally huge main event. Um, so we'll get into that when we get into that. We'll see you guys on another stream. Again, subscribe to all my socials, follow, and UFC 4, great game. I just want to emphasize that again. Possibly my last time playing it. I want to make that my last time playing it just because it was a good game for all these years. And we're going to move on to UFC 5. Again, so excited to play with all my favorite fighters. And we'll be streaming that. We'll definitely be streaming that. I want to get a couple matches in, get a feel for the game before I actually go live on there. But nevertheless, if you guys want to fight on UFC 5 on Xbox, drop your gamer tag in the comments or direct message me on Instagram, and we'll set something up. I already know a lot of people have added me, and I just need to add you guys back. And there's this one other page, I forgot their name. I want to look at Instagram. There's this one other page that messaged me saying what was my username, and I need to get back to you on that. So anyways, again, UFC 4 game was awesome. UFC 294 was awesome. Moving on, another event. Hopefully they announce UFC Austin soon, because we're definitely going to be there. And if you guys are going to be there, shoot me a message on Instagram. So we'll be in touch for that. So without further ado, guys, that was an awesome stream. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys are going to watch it back, thank you guys for supporting on all the socials. Stay tuned for these next few streams. They're going to be awesome. UFC 5, I can't wait. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.